Vegas is now less than 1 week away, and we've got a doozy of a show to preview today. Before we get to Vegas, though, we need to preview both Vancouver shows, review 2 homecoming shows, chat Love and Peace 2026, talk about our new #1 contender for the International Princess Championship, and dive into Raku Palm's new ramen business. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. Hello to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa and welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host Andy Zyke, and we are only 1 week away from Las Vegas. TJPW live in Las Vegas, taking place next Thursday during WrestleMania week, which means we are only 1 week away from WrestleMania as well. Crazy. I will admit I am not too hyped up for WrestleMania this year. I've a little bit fallen out with WWE over the last couple of years, not for any real particular reason. It's just a case of too much to watch and too much to keep on top of, and just enjoying some other wrestling a little bit more. But I know a lot of people that are very hyped up for WrestleMania this year, and who knows? Maybe they'll surprise me. I will not be going to WrestleMania. I actually know some people that will be attending Mania as well, but that is not scheduled on my trip. I am very excited for my trip, though. I'm going to be at a number of shows next week. Pandemonium Pro Wrestling on Wednesday, Spark Joshi on Sunday, of course the TJPW show on Thursday, Marvelous, which I believe is like really late Thursday night, Stardom on Friday, a couple of others as well that I'm thinking of adding in. What I'll do is I'll put my full schedule out on X, and then that way, if you're going to be at any of the same shows, you'll know that I'll be there. Come on over, say hello. I'm happy to give you a Tokyo Joshi Pod sticker as well, so I'm going to have those with me. So if you like a sticker and you're going to be attending any of the shows I'll be at, don't be a stranger. Feel free to come up and say hello. But now, since I will be traveling next week, I want to do just like a quick little programming note. On the show today, we're going to chat the 2 homecoming shows that took place last weekend, Mifu Ishida's Home Cheer Home and Miyu Yamashita's Next Door in Fukuoka. There also was a show that happened just yesterday on Wednesday, Warm and Cozy Spring Pro Wrestling, but that's not uploaded to Wrestle Universe until this coming weekend. So what we'll do today is we'll talk through the results of that show at a pretty high level, because there are some news items coming out of that one, but we'll have to save the full review for next week's show alongside the reviews for the 2 Vancouver shows. Also, I will be in Las Vegas starting on Wednesday of next week, and I'm going to be recording next week's episode on Wednesday, which means between me recording on Wednesday and you all listening on Friday when the episode drops, there is going to be the Vegas show taking place in between. And just based on how my schedule is looking, there's going to be no way for me to attend the Vegas show and then record after the Vegas show. So we're going to have to save our full review of that show until the following week. So if you're following along, today, the Ashida and Yamashita homecoming shows. We also have a number of shows to preview today. Next week, we'll review the Warm and Cozy show, the Gaisen Sakura show, and both Vancouver shows. And then the following week after that will be the Las Vegas review. And then I believe that there will be an inspiration show back in Japan, the same WrestleMania weekend. So we'll also talk that inspiration show as well. I won't leave you all totally hanging, though. Keep your eyes on our social media feeds, because I'm going to have a few digest videos that I want to put up, kind of similar to the ones that I did from the Texas shows. I'd also like to do some more instant reaction videos, kind of like the one I did for Grand Princess 2-6. Definitely going to do one of those for the TJPW Vegas show. Maybe I'll even do it for a couple of the other shows I go to too, if there's like a TJPW connection somehow. Perhaps we'll even have a cameo from a familiar face or two in those instant reaction videos. I think that would be a lot of fun. On top of that, and bear with me because this is a big one, I've got an interview or two in the works for Las Vegas, so there is certainly plenty to look forward to on your social feeds, on your podcast feeds. I want to thank you all for bending me your ears once more this week. I appreciate each and every one of you that are listening. We have so much to dive into today, per usual, so let's go ahead and jump right on in. We don't have too much news to chat on this week, but there's a couple of stories that came out of the last few days. Unfortunately, TJPW made the announcement pretty hot off the heels of making the initial announcement for these shows. Love and Peace 2026. These are the shows that were going to be taking place in Malaysia in May, the 9th and the 10th of May specifically. And like I say, TJPW just announced these shows maybe like 2 weeks ago, I want to say. Well, both of these shows are now officially postponed. I'll read out the just kind of verbatim or translated verbatim what TJPW wrote here. And basically, both of these shows are postponed, quote, due to the changes in international affairs, there are uncertainties regarding various local procedures and the preparations necessary for the event that are difficult for the organizers to foresee in advance. Now, that's a little bit vague, a little bit of a word salad. They did not give a new date for when these shows are being postponed to. I will say, though, they made it pretty clear that this is a postponement. It is not a cancellation by any means. I think that this is a vague statement, but look, like this is unfortunately the state of the world that we currently live in. Without going too far down that pathway, there's a lot of stuff happening, certainly domestically here in America, but also globally across all the continents and a number of countries. And that has a lot of ripple effects and effects downstream related to the cost of things, travel issues, and just the ability to do things get a little bit more difficult. That's about as vague and as general as I would like to remain when it comes to topics like that. This is an unfortunate kind of ripple effect, like I said, of kind of everything that's going on right now in the world. But again, postponement. This is not a cancellation. Love and Peace 2025 was a big success for TJPW. They partnered with DDT. They partnered with some local Malaysia talent. There were idol groups as well. This is supposed to be a festival celebrating both wrestling and idol singing and idol performing. And this year, TJPW was going to basically double up here. They were going to run 2 shows in Malaysia instead of 1. So certainly a lucrative area for them, an expansion area for them. Hopefully we will hear soon on when these 2 shows get rescheduled for. In lighter news, we have a new International Princess title #1 contender. Obviously, we know Sakura Hattori is next in line. She's going to be challenging Suzume in Las Vegas next week. But beyond that, we now have a challenger for May 5th's Corcoran Hall show, Yes Wonderland. Haru Kazushiro qualified as our new #1 contender, beating out Himawari, Mifu Ashida, Shino Suzuki, and Uda Takami at the Ueno event from really just yesterday as I'm recording this. She is going to challenge whoever comes out of that Las Vegas matchup between Suzume and Sakura, as I mentioned, on that May 4th Yes Wonderland show. That is the next time that TJPW will be running Corcoran Hall. So really like the next quote-unquote big show coming out of Las Vegas and Vancouver. Like I say, today on the show, we're going to talk the results of that Ueno show. That's the Warm and Cozy show. And then we'll have that full review next week once that show releases this weekend on Wrestle Universe. And then the last bit of news I want to touch on today, a little bit of a quick hitter, the TJPW collab show with SAJ Wrestling out of Italy. We now know one more matchup for that one. As a quick reset, this will be on Sunday, April 26th from Milan, Italy. The already announced matches see Miyu Yamashita in a singles contest against Sebastian DeWitt. Also Shoko Nakajima in a singles contest against Kanji. We now know Hyper Misao's match. Misao will be in a tag team contest. She's going to tag alongside LG, and they are going to take on the team of Flamingo and Session Moth Martina in a mixed tag match. And then a reminder that Yuki Aino is also scheduled to be on this show. We are still pending what her match looks like, And this show on April 26th in Milan is the same weekend as TJPW's collab with Eve, which will be taking place the day before on Saturday the 25th. Not too much news this week, which is kind of a welcomed reprieve after all of the news that we got last week. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start talking about the number of shows that went down over the last week. We'll start back on Saturday, April 4th, where we saw Home Cheer Home, Mifu Ashida's homecoming show. This one took place from the Sandanike Park General Gymnasium, hopefully pronouncing that correctly, in the Kyoto Prefecture. This was basically your public gymnasium. There was a stage in case somebody wanted to do a presentation or a graduation or some sort of a stage play. And then it was basically a gymnasium with basketball hoops and whatnot, just a large space. No bleachers around, nothing built in for this show. TJPW just put out chairs. So definitely a smaller kind of general gymnasium, that's in the word. This was video on demand. It just released earlier this week, and this event overall about 2 hours in length. This was the start of Arisu Endo's absence. We know that she underwent some sort of minor procedure, minor surgery. She is scheduled to come back this weekend at the Gaisen Sakura show, though. TJPW, their first time here at the Sandanike Park General Gymnasium, and they drew an attendance of 307, which TJPW is listing as a sellout. We opened up with Rise Shirai's remarks and house rules. She actually was showing off the Weekly Pro Wrestling cover, which has Yuki Arai on it after she won the Princess of Princess Championship. So I thought that was kind of cool for them to get their hands on a copy of that and start promoting that to some of their fans. Before we got the Up Girls performance, since this was Mifu Ashida's homecoming, Mifu came out. She gave a few brief remarks as well to start the show. And then we actually got a cheerleading performance by a cheer troupe called Kawaii Dance Agency. Now, apparently, this was a cheerleading group that Mifu Ashida was a part of in her youth, and they were invited here to perform. It was about maybe 3 to 5 minutes of different songs, and it's kind of like a mix of dancing and cheer. So kind of cool that TJPW does these things with the community where they can invite local cheer groups, younger women to come out. Of course, all of these ladies, these young girls, were able to take in the show and support Mifu Ashida, cheer on Mifu Ashida, no pun intended. But really cool that, we talked about this with the Girls Take the Ring event that took place during the Texas tour. I think there's really cool opportunities for young women to kind of look up to some of these wrestlers in TJPW. And who knows? You never know if one of these girls is going to find their way into TJPW in the future. Following the cheer performance, the Up Girls came out and they sang Labimoto, Love You More. We started off this show with a singles match. Wakana Uehara took on Shion Kanzaki. Honestly, you could see the end of this match coming from a mile away. Rookie Shion going up against Wakana, who was probably in need of a win after losing the tag team titles at Grand Princess. Shion got a little bit of offense in, but this was mostly Wakana's match to lose. She does end up submitting Ren with the banana pillow in 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Up next was another singles contest. Sakura Hattori took on Chika Nanase. Similar to our first match of this show, the winner here never really in doubt. Sakura was mostly in control for this one. Chika was able to lock in the Inari Tori, though, at one point. Sakura, I will say, has definitely sped up her top rope hand signs. It's looking a lot better when she does that. Sakura ultimately gets the win here, submitting Chika with the Shinden Fudo Ryo reverse front choke in 6 minutes and 33 seconds. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a tricky one. Shinden Fudo Ryo. This was a nice win for Sakura on the road to her International Princess title match coming up next week in Las Vegas. Next up, we had a three-way match. Yuki Kamifuku took on Pam Harajuku and Himawari. Yuki entered with her whip. It's kind of been a minute, right, since we've seen that whip. I can't remember if we've seen that in quite a while. So interesting that Kamiyu, now that I guess she doesn't have to carry around the tag team belt, she is now back to carrying around her whip with her. Pam, of course, this is a Pam match, so there are some shenanigans here. Pam started this one out up on the stage in the gymnasium, and she was imitating some sort of like school ceremony, is my understanding of it. And right away, she asked Kamiyu to get up and speak. So Kamiyu heads up to the stage and, I don't know, starts speaking about something. And while she's doing that, Palm sneaks her way back into the ring, tries rolling up Himawari to win the contest. But we know Himawari, she's the powerful, cheeky chap. She's a little too cheeky for that. Palm and Kamiyu then take turns beating up on Himawari, but after a little bit of miscommunication over who would end up pinning her, Himawari is able to gain control, put them both in a really nice-looking half Boston Crab. The three then trade offense, each briefly getting the upper hand for a little bit. Eventually, we come down to Kamiyu and Palm left alone in the ring. Kamiyu took Palm's head off with a huge big boot, and then hits her famouser for the win in 6 minutes and 2 seconds. Next up, we had a tag team contest. Kiraku Kiyome tagging together for the first time since the Max Heart tournament. We're taking on Raku and Mihiro Kiryu. What a wacky team Raku and Mihiro are, right? Raku does have a new pillow, worth noting that after the pillow was ripped to shreds by Rika Tatsumi at Grand Princess. The pillow is new. Misao comes out, of course, gives her pre-match mic performance, and she argues with Mihiro over who is at fault that the Iron Man title is no longer in TJPW. She actually demanded that Mihiro take fault for this and apologize that this title is no longer in TJPW. Of course, Mihiro refuses to do that, and she ends up blaming Raku. She says, no, this is all Raku's fault. Poor Raku. Kiraku Kiyome then beat up on Mihiro to start this match as Raku watches because Raku wants nothing to do with Mihiro after getting thrown under the bus. Misao encourages all of them to hit the Oyasumi Express, which Raku is delighted to do with Kiraku Kiyome. Kiraku then push Raku off of the pin, attempt their own pin, and that's when things switch back to Raku, who then jumps back to her tag team partner's aid. It doesn't work out too much in their favor, though. Kiraku Kiyome continues to put an extending beating on Mihiro. Raku tags in briefly to get a little bit of the momentum back, but every time Mihiro was in there, she just seemed to lose all of that momentum for her team. Kiraku Kiyome end up stealing Raku's pillow, but those two aren't on the same page, and Misao accidentally hits Shoko over the head with the pillow, and that allows Mihiro and Raku to get really their first true tandem offense in here. They had this really nice sidewalk slam pillow to the face combination. Probably the first time those two moves have ever been put together. Misao, though, is able to hit a quick reversal on Mihiro, roll her into a La Magistral cradle for the 3 count in 9 minutes and 10 seconds. A pretty obvious win for Kiraku Kiyome before they challenge for those Princess Tag belts in Las Vegas, albeit not a very strong victory. We then had a 6-woman tag team match. Daydream teamed together alongside Shino Suzuki, and they took on the very thrown-together team of Ren Kanatsu, Yuki Aino, and Toga. I will admit, Miyu looks very strange without her title. I am saying her title. I probably shouldn't say that. The title. Miyu's team attacks at the bell, and Shino immediately gives us a tour of Kyoto. They do fumble the attack in the corner, though, which allows the Ren, Aino, and Toga team to then start the match on the attack. It's not too long, though, before Daydream start firing away on Ren, which leads us into multiple women getting some run in this match. In particular, Aino and Rika had a pretty nice exchange in the middle of this one. Miyu ends up in there with Ren, and Miyu kind of plays her hits, the corner shoulders, the stinger splash, swinging backbreaker. Things really start to break down towards the end, and all women are in there briefly fighting before we return to Ren and Miyu. Miyu ultimately hits the teardrop on Ren and wins in 12 minutes and 17 seconds. Pretty nice bounce back win for Miyu after losing her title. In our semifinal contest, we saw a tag team match. Suzume teamed up with Haru Kazushiro to take on Kira Summer and Miyu Yamashita. Haru still has her blue hair from Grand Princess, and I really like that. I think that really fits her look, her style. It really matches well with her gear. And with Suzume, this is the first look at any of the new titles since Grand Princess. And I have to say, I really like the pastel blue International Princess title. Something about it I think just looks so great. Not that the other ones don't, but I just love that pastel blue color. Yamashita and Suzume start, and the crowd was really, really excited for that, but it is pretty short-lived. We then get a very prolonged Kira and Haru exchange, followed by Haru holding her own quite well against Yamashita. She did look pretty good in the ring with her. We eventually make our way back to Suzume and Miyu, but again, very, very short back and forth. Kira tags in and briefly has control of Suzume with some of her strength, but Suzume is able to hit the ring a bell at 11 minutes and 19 seconds. New champion Suzume gets her first victory. And in our main event, another tag team match saw the Kyoto tag team of homecoming girl Mifu Ashida team up with new Princess of Princess champion Yuki Arai to take on the team of Mizuki and Uda Takami. Mifu got a solo entrance to start with streamers, and there were some really adorable children in the ring giving her flowers. I don't know who the kids were, if they were related to Mifu in any way or if she knew them, but they were adorable. They were like maybe 3 to 5 years old. Arai comes out with the new Princess of Princess belt with her. And then, of course, we get Mizuki and Uda coming out together. Early on in this one, the Kyoto team hit a little bit of tandem cheer and leg split offense. That's kind of their bread and butter. Mifu tried to continue the momentum with her pom-poms, but Mizuki and Uda kind of wrestle back control of the match. Mifu is then beat up for a short while. You got to get that hometown sympathy, right? She makes a big tag to Arai, but Arai also gets beat up for a little bit, which was kind of surprising. Really the first run that we see of Arai after Grand Princess. She's getting her butt kicked, but she does have somewhat of a nice back and forth with Mizuki. Mifu and Uda then have a nice exchange, with Mifu mostly getting the upper hand there. Uda was able to get the koala clutch in at one point, though. Mizuki tries to intervene between those two, but Arai is there to hit the full Nelson Buster on her. Mifu then hits a really stiff-looking cheerful kick, which is like a crescent kick, at the 11 minute and 39 second mark to grab her very first main event win in her hometown. Afterwards, Mifu gets on the microphone, thanks her home crowd, closes out the show. A little bit odd that Yuki Arai didn't say anything. She just kind of stood there like, she's the new champion. You would think the new champion would have something to say, even just like in support of Mifu and her hometown and like, hey, good job, welcome home kind of thing. Arai didn't say anything, which was a little odd. Backstage, Mifu and Arai gave some comments as well. Arai did speak backstage, but of course, no one's really there to hear it. Mifu spoke about how happy she was to have a hometown show with so many friends, so many family members and fans in attendance, and that was basically the gist of it. Her and Arai just kind of went back and forth about that. Overall, this was a pretty predictable show with like the house show style vibes to it. It was nice to see Mifu get a very special show like this. I think Mifu is certainly up and coming within TJPW and definitely someone to keep your eyes on in the next like 3 to 5 years. We knew that she was in the International Princess #1 Contender 5-way match. I think that was a big opportunity for her. But I would definitely say we keep our eyes on Mifu in the near future. Beyond this being this special Mifu show, there's not too much to go out of your way for here unless you're truly just a big Mifu fan and you want to see her get that very first main event victory. But otherwise, definitely more of a house show style vibe here. Our next show on the very next day, Sunday, April 4th, was TJPW Spring Tour 2026 Next Door in Fukuoka. This took place from the Across Fukuoka Event Hall. Video on demand again just came out a couple days ago. This was also about a 2-hour event. Again, Arisu sitting out due to injury here. TJPW was last at the Across Event Hall in April of 2025, so about a year ago or so to the date. They run this venue fairly often for Yamashita's homecoming show. This was Yamashita's homecoming show. Last time in April of 2025, they drew 335 fans. This time around in 2026, we had a little bit of an increase. They drew 357 fans. Rise Shirai gave our opening remarks and house rules, and the Up girls came out. They sang Kawatsuyo Challenger. And just one interesting footnote for the Up girls here, the opening start call was delivered by Raku today, typically delivered by Miyu, but today for some reason Raku was the one that gave the opening start call. Our first match was a singles contest. Shion Kanzaki took on Sakura Hattori. An okay match. These two just didn't really seem to jive well with one another. It wasn't bad by any means. They just felt out of rhythm a number of times. I think that Sakura works a very specific pace with this new gimmick of hers, and Shion is still learning, right? Every time she gets in the ring, she's still learning. She's so new, and I just don't think that felt like an ideal combination, and kind of showed a little bit in this match. Sakura does pick up the win here after hitting her Rakatecho, which is her flying forearm, in 6 minutes and 25 seconds. I think Sakura was always winning this one, just again, on the road to that International Princess title challenge, and Shion being the youngest member, or the least experienced member, I should say, of the roster. Also, I did a little bit of research on this Rakatecho flying forearm attack. This loosely translates to falling flowers, crying birds. Rakatecho, pretty cool name for a lot of these Sakura moves that we're starting to get. Up next, we had a three-way match, Mihiro Kiryu versus Hyper Misao versus Ren Kanatsu. Before Misao could give her pre-match mic performance, she was attacked by Mihiro, and Mihiro, ever crafty Mihiro, decided to blame Ren. Well, that got us off in this match to a pretty prolonged stretch where Ren was just beaten down at the hands of Misao. Mihiro does eventually find her way back in. She apologizes for blaming Ren, but Misao quickly tosses Mihiro back out of the ring. And that's what most of this was. It was Ren and Misao going at it, with Mihiro just trying to pick her spots to re-enter the match. There was a fun, nesting doll style sleeper hold spot where I think it was Ren had Mihiro, and then Misao had Ren, some combination like that, but it looked pretty cool. And then Ren ended up hitting a double roll-up pin too, which looked kind of cool. Ren also hits her Ares Comet in this match on Misao. She tries rolling up Mihiro, but Mihiro is able to counter into her apology pin in 8 minutes and 41 seconds. Nice win for Mihiro. It's been a minute since we've seen a Mihiro win. Next up, we had a tag team contest. Chika Nanase teamed with Yuki Aino to take on Yuki Kamifuku and Kira Summer. Another one of these bizarre pairings, Kamiyu and Kira, an interesting combination. It was funny to see Kira kind of do her running entrance while Kamiyu was just kind of strutting her stuff. It was a fun contrast. This was a fairly standard tag match. Chika and Kira have at it for a little bit. Then the Yukis get a little bit of time wrestling one another. Kamiyu gets a bit of an extended run against Chika and then pins her with a famouser in 10 minutes and 41 seconds. I'd still really like to see Kira and Chika tag some more. I'm not sure why we aren't full send on that team. They have really good chemistry when they're together. They have good chemistry when they wrestle each other too, but they just seem to work so well together and as real life friends outside of the ring. But just there's something about that duo that I think TJPW should really get behind. And we always need more tag teams, new tag teams, right? We need to establish these up and coming young wrestlers within tag teams. Why not Chika and Kira? The next matchup was a singles contest. Mizuki took on Wakana Uehara. Right from the get-go of this, Wakana brought the fight to Mizuki. A lot of confidence coming off of her tag title run. I think we're starting to see a little bit of a new Wakana after her experience holding those belts. Wakana started off briefly in control here, but Mizuki, using her craftiness to gain the upper hand, she hits a diving foot stomp. Wakana, I thought, showed a lot of fighting spirit here. There's a moment where she's trapped in the crossface and Mizuki really had it in tight. And I figured that would be the end. I thought Wakana might tap, but she's somehow able to reach the ropes with her feet. Wakana tried for a sushi tornado, but Mizuki, able to stuff it, turns it right into a suplex, followed by the cutie special in 8 minutes and 48 seconds to pick up the win. Wakana has certainly come a long way in the past year, but maybe not far enough to beat Mizuki in a singles match. Next up was a pretty big 6-woman tag team match. Suzume teamed up with Uda Takami and Haru Kazushiro to take on the Bumping Gritters, Himawari and Shino Suzuki. Those two teamed with Mifu Ashida. All of the women in this match are upcoming challengers in the 5-way #1 contenders match for Suzume's International Princess Championship. So this was quite the collection of individuals. And I have to say, this was awesome. It really injected some life into the weekend's shows. This was like a showcase of the next generation members, plus Suzume, of course, but it kind of reminded me of the tag team match we got at Grand Princess between Bumping Gritters and Ren and Toga. Early on here in this one, Shino and Himawari gave a tour while Mifu was cheering them on. The Bumping Gritters team also do some pom-pom hair whip combinations, also probably something that has never been done before. Each of these ladies really got their shine, and surprisingly, maybe unsurprisingly, Suzume took a bit of a backseat in this one to let those next-gen members kind of look towards the forefront of this match. There's a really great sequence down the stretch with all of the ladies trading moves at one time, and then the Bumping Gritters and Mifu team hit like stereo or like three-way stereo moves all at once. A lot of fast-paced action in this one. Himawari is able to pick up the win for her team over Haru Kazushiro with the Sunflower Tempest in 9 minutes and 32 seconds. So coming out of the weekend, Himawari with the momentum heading into that 5-way number 1 contenders match. A little bit interesting now knowing the results of that 5-way match that Himawari pinned Haru. I'm really excited to watch that match once it comes out to see if that plays into it at all. There is a screenshot I saw of the two of them, Himawari and Haru, so I wonder if there's some sort of a storyline there between this match and that 5-way between Himawari and Haru. We do get some backstage comments, but they're nothing too crazy here. Haru and Uda vowed to win that 5-way match. Suzume vows to defend her title in Vegas because she is very excited to see who emerges as the next title challenger. On the other end of things, Mifu and Himawari and Shino all vow to win themselves, and the comments turn a little bit dissensuous with a lot of bickering between all three of them. There wasn't too much of value said here. It was just all of these ladies looking forward to that 5-way and Suzume looking forward to who comes out of that 5-way. In our semifinal, we had a tag team match. Daydream, Miyu Watanabe and Rika Tatsumi teamed up to take on Rakupam. Palm's been on a cardboard kick lately because Rakupam entered with the Rakupam stall, a cardboard ramen stand. After a brief nap, Raku immediately offers to serve up some of this ramen to Daydream, which Palm is carefully preparing outside of the ring. Daydream is like really suspiciously excited to eat this incredibly heavy meal right before some physical activity, but it turns out Rakupam are running an illegitimate business because they just dump the ramen bowls onto Daydream's head, and then they run them over with the ramen stall. Now that's no way to treat your customers, so Rika does what any normal person would do in that situation and chokes out the manager of the stall. Rakupam, though, plan to fight for their business reputation and once again try running over Miyu with the stall, but she uses her immense strength to stop it in its tracks, allowing Rika to Godzilla smash the establishment from the ring apron. Daydream then proceed to bury Rakupam in the rubble of their business. They get the last laugh by shoving Palm's face into a bowl of ramen. Oh yeah, and somewhere in the middle of this 13 minutes and 48 seconds of an insane dining experience was a wrestling match won by Daydream with their Daydream Eternity Maneuver, but let's be honest, we'll remember it much more for the 1-star Yelp review. Then, in our main event, we saw another tag team contest, one that was much more wrestling focused. Yuki Arai teamed up with Toga to take on Shoko Nakajima and the homecoming girl Miyu Yamashita. Miyu only got a handful of streamers, not like a lot for a homecoming show. I thought that was a little bit disappointing. Arai and Yamashita start us off, very brief exchange. Then Shoko comes in with Toga. Shoko out-wrestling Toga quite a bit. Toga and Arai swing the momentum, though, with their size advantage against Shoko, stopping her from hitting a tope suicida. Yamashita and Arai go at it again, with Arai getting the upper hand with some big boots, some drop kicks. Toga and Yamashita also have a pretty nice, powerful exchange between the two of them. And then we see Arai and Shoko square off. I kind of wonder if Shoko or Miyu, maybe both, will be Arai opponents during this title reign. I think those could be some pretty interesting matches for her to have. Yamashita and Toga have a round 2. Toga had Yamashita in a headlock, and there were a number of children in the crowd that were really, really behind Yamashita. Toga blocks an avalanche attitude adjustment, hits a fall-away slam from the top rope. She then goes for the absolute zero. Yes, that's a move that still exists. We haven't seen it in months, but she goes for the absolute zero. Miyu's able to block it, probably because Toga hasn't performed it in so long. Arai, though, jumps in to interrupt the two of them and somehow is allowed to lock in the Scorpion Lock on Yamashita. Come on, Fumarin, get it under control here. She then takes out Nakajima with a full Nelson Buster. Toga is able to hit the Rolling Thunder on Yamashita, but gets trapped in a very intense sleeper hold. Yamashita hits her release German suplex, followed by a return crush, only able to get 2. She then hits a skull kick, goes for the attitude adjustment, but Toga wiggles out of it. Arai comes back in, ducks a skull kick, but is tossed out of the ring by Nakajima with a Hurricane Rana and a tope. Yamashita then hits a corner kick on Toga. A spinning back kick is blocked into a forearm, but Toga stumbles after hitting the forearm. Yamashita capitalizes on that, hits a quick knee to the face and a skull kick to grab the win in 17 minutes and 26 seconds. Yamashita had a busted lip afterwards, and she took the microphone, immediately paid tribute to her late mentor, Matsuda Daijiro, who she says that she studied martial arts under. It was a very emotional speech because Daijiro apparently passed away suddenly last month in March. So Yamashita showing a lot of emotion for her mentor, and she vowed to keep fighting for him despite the pain of her loss. And then her and Shoko ended it on a little bit more of a positive note, emphasizing how they can raise the level or continue to raise the level of TJPW. Backstage, Arai and Toga talk about their nerves going into the match, going up against 2 of the 4 pillars, 2 of the best wrestlers in the roster. I always say 2 of the best wrestlers in the world in Yamashita and Nakajima. But Arai did praise Toga for stepping up to the occasion and really proving her worth in this matchup. Shoko and Miyu also give some comments. They felt Arai and Toga were pretty strong for juniors, but they themselves want to remain strong as seniors forever, was the timeline that they gave. This show overall had a little bit more going for it, with like the prelude to the 5-way, the comedy ramen match, and pretty big main event tag team match. Certainly higher quality for a house show, but again, nothing that you must go out of your way to see on this one. Now, as I mentioned, there was a show that took place on April 8th, Warm and Cozy Spring Pro Wrestling in Ueno, but that will not be uploaded to Wrestle Universe until Saturday the 11th. I am going to cover the results of this show just at a very high level. I won't talk about the comments or the in-ring information, like just basically who won and how they won. If you don't want to hear that, if you want to kind of save this show until you have a chance to watch it, skip ahead a little bit. I'll put a timestamp for when we get into the preview section, so you could just jump ahead from here. But I am going to discuss the results of this Ueno show. The first match, a singles contest between Kamiyu and Shion Kanzaki. Kamiyu picked up the win with a brainbuster in 6 minutes and 48 seconds. The second match, another singles match, Wakana Uehara took on Kira Summer. Wakana wins with the banana pillow in 9 minutes and 2 seconds. Next up was a tag match. Suzume and Ren Kanatsu squared off against Sakura, Hattori, and Toga, the first International Princess title preview tag match. Sakura was able to submit Ren with the Shinden Fudorio reverse front choke in 11 minutes and 20 seconds. So Sakura 1-0 here in our preview tags for that International Princess title. We had another singles match, Miyu Watanabe taking on Chika Nanase. Miyu won this with a shoulder tackle, which was a strange way to end that match, in 9 minutes and 26 seconds. The semifinal was that 5-way number 1 contenders International Princess title matchup. Shino Suzuki took on Himawari, Uda Takami, Mifu Ashida, and Haru Kazushiro. Of course, we know Haru picked up the victory here. She pinned Shino Suzuki with a fisherman's suplex in 12 minutes and 44 seconds. And then your main event of this Ueno show was a Spring Sports Day 10-woman tag match. The Ueno shows are the ones that take place like on the outdoor stage venue. So this was tied into like Spring Sports Day. This was kind of a match, but not really a match. The 10 women in this were, on one side, Yuki Arai, Miyu Yamashita, Mizuki, Rika Tatsumi, and Mihiro Kiryu. They took on the other team that included Raku, Pam Harajuku, Shoko Nakajima, Hyper Misao, and Yuki Aino. Basically, they played a variety of games followed by a singles contest. Arai's team picked up the victory here in this kind of just a fun, have fun outdoors type of a match. Nothing too serious in that main event. I'm looking forward to watching this when it comes out. Like I say, full review on next week's show. I'm really curious to see the 5-way matchup, to see just how Haru pulls off the victory after losing the that preview match, or the tag team match rather, at Yamashita's homecoming event. I also want to see why and how Miyu Watanabe wins a match with a shoulder tackle. That seems kind of strange. And then these outdoor shows are always fun. The Spring Sports Day contest here at the end, if you can even call it that. I've seen some images on the TJPW website. It just looks like a blast. So these are always shows that you leave with a smile on your face. Now, beyond those 3 shows from the past week, we have 4 shows to preview. That's right, 4 shows. I think this is the most shows we've ever previewed in 1 week. Coming up on Saturday, April 11th, Gaisen Sakura Pro Wrestling will take place. This is an outdoor show within the Gaisen Sakura Street area of Shinjo Village in Okayama. This one, it will not be live. It will be video on demand, and it will be up on Wrestle Universe. It's quite a while since we'll see this one. It'll be posted on Thursday, April 16th. So come to think of it, we might not even be able to cover this one in full detail next week. We might have to wait till the following week after I gave that whole spiel at the top of the show, right, about what we're going to cover when. Well, I messed it up. So Gaisen, we may or may not get to it next week, but there are 11 talents from TJPW on this show, basically the 11 that are not in Canada, minus Ren and Shion. Ren and Shion probably just getting a week off, or maybe probably seconding this the couple of matches on this show. In addition to the 3 TJPW matches, there are 3 matches from the Basara promotion. This Gaisen show is being put on by Nodoka Tenma and her husband. Nodoka, obviously a TJPW alumni. Her husband, I think he's active in Basara. If not, he's an alumni of Basara. So that's why we're seeing Basara matches and TJPW matches. The 3 TJPW matches include a singles contest, Kira Summer versus Rika Tatsumi, a tag team match, Hyper Misao teaming with Mahiro Kiryu to take on Chika Nanase and Arisu Endo. Arisu will be making her return at this event. And then a 6-woman tag. Mizuki will team with Mifu Ashida and Aja Kong, and they will take on the Toju Tokusatsu Club, Haru Kazushiro, Shoko Nakajima, and Yuki Aino. So Aja Kong going to get a little bit of revenge after Grand Princess. That same weekend, actually, in fact, that same day, Saturday, April 11th, TJPW will make their Canadian debut with Vancouver premiere Day 1 from the Great Canadian Hastings Racecourse and Casino. This will be live on Wrestling Universe. It'll be airing around 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. 13 TJPW women on this show. We will have, in no particular order here, I don't think this is the match order, we will see a singles match. Suzume will take on local Canadian talent Alexia Nicole. This is a non-title matchup. Another singles contest will see Yuki Kamifuku take on Shino Suzuki. We will get a 3rd singles matchup, Uda Takami, one-on-one with Amira. Amira from the Pacific Northwest area. She's wrestled on the TJPW Seattle show before and the LA shows. Really looking forward to that. Amira is a pretty good up-and-coming talent, so that should be a fun contest. And then we have 3 tag team matches. The first, we'll see Miyu Yamashita team with Himawari. That's kind of a fun team. And they're going to take on 2 local Canadian wrestlers, both of whom actually wrestled on the TJPW Seattle show a year ago, Liza Hall and Nicole Matthews. One of the tag matches will be an all TJPW affair. Raku Palm will team together to take on Sakura Hattori and Toga. And then in what I imagine will be the main event here for Day 1, we will see Yuki Arai, your current Princess of Princess champion, team up with Wakana Uehara to take on Miyu Watanabe, the most recent Princess of Princess champion. Her partner will be J-Rod, our number 1 contender for that Princess of Princess belt. So this, not only will it serve as a bit of a rematch between Watanabe and Arai, but we will also see J-Rod and Watanabe team up after their title match back a few months ago. And then this will be our first Princess of Princess preview tag for Las Vegas. So we'll see Arai and J-Rod mix it up here for the first time. And then the very next day, Sunday, April 12th, from the same venue, Great Canadian Hastings Racecourse and Casino, we will see Vancouver premiere Day 2. This one now is an afternoon show. It will be live on Wrestling Universe at 2:30 p.m. Eastern or 11:30 a.m. Pacific. This show is taking place the same day as AEW Dynasty, and so they're positioning it time-wise so that the show ends, everybody can make it over for 0 hour, which is taking place in Vancouver. we will see the same 13 TJPW talents here. Same kind of match construction too. We'll get 3 singles and 3 tag matches. Let's start with the singles matches. The first we'll see Miyu Watanabe take on Cherry Blossom, local Canadian talent who I believe she's also Japanese. Then we'll also see Yukikami Fuku take on local Canadian talent Kristara. And then in a match that a lot of people are circling for this weekend, Miyu Yamashita will go one-on-one with Nicole Matthews. And then the tag team matches, we'll see the first one, Raku Palm going up against Uda Takami and Liza Hall. The second one, an all TJPW matchup here, the Bumping Gritters will team together. They're going to take on Toga and Wakana Uehara. And again, in what I have to imagine is the main event here, we're going to see a star-studded matchup here, one of these super preview tags, if it were, Yuki Arai, the Princess of Princess champion, teaming with the International Princess champion Suzume, and they are going to be facing off against our number one contenders, J-Rod and Sakura Hattori. So this functions as our second International Princess preview tag. We know Sakura has the 1-0 advantage, although she didn't pin Suzume in that preview tag from this past weekend, but still going into this with a little bit of momentum. And then this will also be our second Princess of Princess preview tag, and who's going to have the upper hand there coming out of day one? Now, I have to imagine that Suzume is going to get her win back against Sakura. I think it would be interesting to see Sakura go into the IP match up 2-0. So I have to think that they even the score there. I don't know if Sakura will take the pin. I think they want to keep Sakura strong where like she's been on this undefeated streak in singles matches. But then as it relates to the Princess of Princess title picture, I would have to also imagine that they split the difference here and maybe night one, J-Rod picks up a victory and maybe J-Rod pins Wakana. Wakana's kind of the weaker link in that tag team match from day one. And then here on day two, perhaps Arai gets that win back and evens up the Princess of Princess tag, preview tags one apiece. Maybe Arai pins J-Rod. That could be really big time unless they're going to plan to have J-Rod pin Arai on night one. And then maybe they just trade pins in that way. Maybe that goes to a TLD. And then maybe Sakura just goes into the IP matchup 1-0. And then whoever wins night one for the Princess of Princess match, perhaps J-Rod goes in 1-0. TJPW, it's very, very rare that they do time limit draws. So I'm not going to count on it, but I am really interested to see, like, TJPW has been doing a great job of taking their American shows and making them have value, even without title matches on them. But that's a great segue for us into another American show that will have title matches on it, TJPW Live in Las Vegas 2026. So after our Canadian weekend, the following week on Thursday, April 16th, TJPW will be live from the Pearl Theater at the Palms Casino Resort. This is the same venue that TJPW ran last year in Las Vegas. This show will be live, although note, it will not be on Wrestle Universe. It will be on Triller TV. It will be a pay-per-view. The price that we have for this is $20. Really not bad whatsoever. They are also, this is part of Slamfest, and Slamfest is doing different bundles too. So like if you want to see all of the shows taking place on Thursday, there's a special pay-per-view bundle. If you want to see all of the shows as a part of Slamfest, there's a special bundle for that as well. So you can certainly get your money's worth if you want to catch this show. And then I imagine at some point at a later date, it will be uploaded to Wrestle Universe. They typically do that with their overseas shows if they aren't live, but we'll just have to wait to see like what the pay-per-view period is before they're able to upload it onto Wrestle Universe. Vegas will see 17 TJPW talent, so 4 additional talent coming out of the Vancouver tour. Off the top of my head, I think it is Aino, Mizuki, and I can't think of the other two, but a handful are going to be coming over who are not making the trip to Canada. And also, always a delight, our ring announcer for the Las Vegas show will be none other than Sayuri Namba. Our full card for Vegas will see a tag team match, Uber Eats teaming together for the very first time since Grand Princess 2-6, about like 2 or 3 weeks after They're going to take on Uda Takami and Toga. I had reservations about what was going on with Uber Eats because Wakana was doing a lot of singles matches, Kamiyu was doing a lot of singles matches, and when they were tagging, they weren't tagging together. They've also been posting a lot on social media that's been very like reminiscent of their time with the belts, and it almost gave me vibes that like Uber Eats might be no more. Some people might enjoy the sound of that. I didn't mind Uber Eats as a tag team. Maybe this is just them having a little bit of a break from one another since they were on so many shows and big shows together as a tag team. So perhaps I'm reading way too much into it, but just noting, first time we'll see Uber Eats together in a number of weeks here. We will also see a 6-woman tag team matchup. Raku Palm will tag with Yuki Aino. They're going to take on the Bumping Gritters and Alexis Lee. Really cool to see Alexis Lee jumping back into the TJPW fray. It'll be her first time since the December Bangkok show, where she challenged Shoko Nakajima for her MLW title. A pretty good title match on that Bangkok show. So very excited to see Alexis Lee get back into a TJPW ring here. We have a 3-way matchup here, which is, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be match of the show. Nothing is going to top this. Miyu Yamashita versus Miyu Watanabe versus Mizuki. These are 3 of not only the main event, top of the card women within TJPW, but 3 of the best wrestlers in TJPW. This is so casual that we are just getting this 3-way matchup. I am over the moon to see this one live. And like I say, I could tell you right now, this is going to be match of the night. And then we'll have 3 title matches as well on this. The International Princess title will be defended, Suzume making her first defense against Sakura Hattori. Suzume has been champion for 19 days, and this will be Sakura's very first challenge. That includes her time as Kaya Toribami. This will be Sakura's very first challenge for a singles TJPW title. These two have faced each other a whopping 4 times before. All 4 of those matches went to Suzume. Again, worth noting that Suzume fought Kaya Toribami, so, maybe that means nothing. Sakura is such a different competitor that maybe that surprise advantage will come into play. They did also have one preview matchup that we know of that Sakura had the upper hand there, and then they have that matchup in Vancouver that we just spoke about. Sakura qualified for this matchup. Qualify is probably not the right word, but she handed a scroll over to Suzume after Grand Princess announcing her intention to challenge. I think that they have a nice runway here for Suzume to have some really killer matches with some of the next gen, the up-and-comers here, the Sakura Hattoris, the Haru Kazushiro, who is up next, and then who knows, maybe Mifu, maybe Uda, maybe Shino, maybe Himawari. I would love to see Himawari, maybe Wakana. I'm going to pick Suzume here. I think it would be strange to have her lose this title so soon after winning it back off Mirai. And like I say, I think they just have a really nice pathway in front of them with all of these potential matchups. The Princess Tag titles will be defended as well. The Inspiration will be making their first defense against Kiraku Kiyome. The Inspiration, also title holders for 19 days. Kiraku Kiyome, a former one-time Princess Tag Team champions in their own right. No preview tags here, of course. No head-to-heads, of course. Kiraku Kiyome, they were just announced as the challengers by TJPW, and that's kind of going to play a factor into my thought here. On paper, when they announced the Inspiration as being a part of this Vegas show before Grand Princess, that kind of swayed me into the idea of hey, maybe they're going to win these belts and drop them in Vegas. Half of that is true, right? They are our current tag team champions. But when Kiraku Kiyome was announced as the challenger, it kind of made me balk at thinking that they would lose these belts so soon, the Inspiration, because nothing against Kiraku Kiyome. Like I say, former Princess Tag Team champions, but we haven't seen them in, a number of months. The last time they teamed together before the weekend shows that we talked about on today's episode, we hadn't seen them since the Max Heart tournament, where they lost in the first round. And before that, it was quite a while since we saw them. They were not teaming together consistently. So that kind of entered into my mind where I was like, okay, well, are we going to have Kiraku Kiyome we have to heat them up real quick before this matchup if the idea is that they win the tag team belts here. I could totally see it. Like TJPW, it doesn't really matter how hot a tag team is or a competitor is. Like they can easily put the titles on Kiraku Kiyome. They have the pedigree alone based on being former champions, and obviously Shoko a pillar, and Misao's been around a very long time, probably almost as long as some of the pillars. So you really don't have to justify it in that sense, but it does make me question quite a bit if maybe we're going to get more of the inspiration, which personally I don't mind. Like we talked about this last week. I know a lot of people have thoughts about that and them as the champions, but I mean, we may be seeing them a little bit more, so brace yourself a little bit. I'm going to make a pick here. I'm going to say Kiraku Kiyome. I'm going to hold true to my original thought that we'll see the inspiration just be temporary champions here, and we'll get a title change in Vegas. I think that would be a nice thing to have on the show, but don't be surprised if we get more inspiration if they do retain here. And our main event, we'll see the Princess of Princess title on the line, Yuki Arai in her first defense, taking on J-Rod. Yuki Arai, also been champion for 19 days. It's very convenient when TJPW changes all of the titles on one show because I can match very quickly the number of days that everyone has been a champion. J-Rod here, her second challenge for this belt. Of course, we know she challenged unsuccessfully against Miyu Watanabe. These two, first-time singles meeting for them. And then, of course, we have those two preview tags that we spoke about in Vancouver leading up to this one. Again, J-Rod just announced here by TJPW as the challenger. That's what happened against her for her challenge for Miyu Watanabe. And of course, that's what's happening with Kiraku Kiyome as well. So again, that's going to play a factor in my thought here. I really can't imagine a world where J-Rod wins this belt. As much as she has the size advantage and maybe even the strength advantage, Miyu was able to find a way around that. Arai is a bigger competitor than Miyu Watanabe, so I think Arai also has a lot of experience wrestling against foreign competitors, so like I could see a world where Arai is able to figure out J-Rod. Also, business-wise, we just strapped up Yuki Arai 19 days ago. It was a huge move for them to do that, to have her beat Miyu Watanabe, who was like really becoming the future ace of the company, and shift that attention over to the next generation in Arai. I would be floored if they decide to pull that plug, and maybe not pull the plug if they had that planned from the get-go, but like either way, I would be really, really shocked. I'm dancing around it here, but Arai is going to be my pick to retain. So quick recap, Suzume is my pick to defeat Sakura, Arai, my pick to defeat J-Rod, and then I am going to roll with Kiraku Kiyome to pick up the tag team titles, but again, don't be surprised if the inspiration retain. So much great wrestling within the confines of TJPW, but let's go ahead and look at some excursions as well, because we have quite a bit of those coming up. Nothing of note for any alumni this week, so we'll skip over that segment and we'll dive right on into Monday, April 6th was an episode of Monday Magic. Monday Magic is a show that happens, I believe it's Noah that puts it on. It might be DDT, but I think it's Noah. And basically they don't announce what's happening on the show beforehand. So you attend, it's like, I think an hour or two long, and everything is a surprise. TJPW was announced to have some participation, and that's important because this is the very first time TJPW is a part of Monday Magic. The matchup that we ended up getting was a singles contest. Miyu Yamashita took on Shino Suzuki. Probably should have guessed Miyu, right? She's the leader, she's well known, she's well traveled. But I was pleasantly surprised that they gave the other spot here to Shino Suzuki. This was mostly the Yamashita show. Shino did get in a little bit of minor offense, including her tour guide spot and a belly-to-belly suplex, but Yamashita ultimately wins this in 7 minutes and 44 seconds with a skull kick. I thought this was really cool that TJPW joined Monday Magic. I hope that we get more of that. TJPW historically likes to do things in their own lane. They're very siloed. But Monday Magic is all a part of the Wrestle Universe family. It only contains wrestlers from like DDT, from Noah, from Marvelous, from Marigold. So everybody that's just under that Wrestle Universe or even that Cyber Fight umbrella. So I think it makes sense. Even if we just get like TJPW on offer like we got here, I would love to see some crossover matches. Like imagine Yamashita taking on Mayu Iwatani, right? Like That would be incredible. I don't know if we'll get that, but I am going to push that we get more of this. Maybe even we get the all Joshi version of this show. I think it's Friday Night Gacha from Chigusa Nagayo. Would just love to see TJPW participate more here and just continue to open up those doors with brother promotions, sister promotions, etc. So that's the only one in the rear view, but looking ahead, a number of contests, a number of events that we've been keeping our eyes on for Vegas week, starting on Wednesday, April 14th, Pandemonium Pro Wrestling, Whatever Forever, is going to feature Alexis Lee. Alexis Lee, someone who pops into TJPW every now and again. She has a singles matchup against Jocelyn Navarro. That's a pretty interesting match. Pandemonium will also feature TJPW alumni Natsupoi in a really, really tasty matchup. Natsupoi one-on-one with Johnny Robbie. I am really looking forward to that. I'm going to be at this show live. The one thing that really reeled me in at the very, very, very beginning was Pandemonium was set to have Sayuri Namba as their ring announcer. That is no longer happening, unfortunately. But that being said, I'm still hooked, and they still got a fan out of me because the card that they have put together is full of men, women, Japanese talent from Mexico, talent from the American Indies. They're really putting together a sleeper hit of a show. And if you're going to be in Vegas, they still have some tickets available. Not many. I highly encourage you to check out Pandemonium Pro. I'm going to be there. Really, really looking forward to this one. They're also doing meet and greets, so you can meet Natsupoi at this event. And then they also have Saya Ida from Stardom as well. That very same day, in fact, that very same time as Pandemonium, is Pottermania. Pottermania is an all-women's show. Again, pretty loaded lineup. It's really tough to choose between these two shows. Pottermania is going to feature Toga, technically making her US debut here before the TJPW show the next day. Toga is going to team up with Jazzy Wang, the daughter of Jimmy Wang Yang, and they're going to take on the team of Amira, who we spoke about. She's going to be on that Vancouver tour, and then Lil Mars. Then jumping ahead to Friday, April 17th, GCW is running Bloodsport 15. We're going to have a singles matchup, another tasty, tasty singles matchup here. Miyu Yamashita one-on-one with the Kick Demon, Janai Kai. That is crazy. I would very much love to be in attendance and take that one in live. I've never been to a Bloodsport event. I've heard they're really cool. Unfortunately, Bloodsport is the same time as the Stardom show, and Stardom only runs America once a year. So that's unfortunately going to take my priority. Stardom put together one heck of a show as well. Bloodsport shaping up to be another terrific addition here with Yamashita and Janai Kai. Later on Friday night, Pride Style Pro Wrestling is putting on Out of This World. Miyu Watanabe will be on that card. She's going to go one-on-one with Tania. Now, I don't have tickets for this, but I am debating it because they're offering a Miyu Watanabe meet and greet as well. And there's something about getting some sort of a limited edition like trading card or something like that. So I may end up adding Pride Style into my schedule, TBD. But once I'm there and I'm kind of with friends and going to all these shows, the impulse takes over. So high chance I will be at that Pride Style show on Friday night. Pride Style also has a show the next day on Saturday with Senka Akatsuki on their card. So they're putting together one heck of a doubleheader. And then the last Vegas show I want to mention is on Sunday, April 19th, Spark Joshi, Lady Luck 2. There is a handful of TJPW connections on this show. The ring announcer for Lady Luck 2 will be Sayuri Namba. So very, very excited. Looking forward to that. And then we have a couple of TJPW alumni that will be on this one. Natsupoi wrestling here. Maki Ito wrestling here as well. Also recently announced Alexis Lee going to be on this show too. Really excited. Alexis Lee has announced a number of bookings this week, this Vegas week. So good for Alexis Lee. I think she's very underrated. I don't think enough people know just how good she is. And she's got this really cool look with her gear. So looking forward to seeing her. And then also announced Jada Stone, someone who is a multiple-time International Princess challenger over the last year or so. So quite a card that the team at Spark Joshi is putting together. And then also, surprise special announcement here, the Tokyo Joshi Pod is sponsoring Spark Joshi Lady Luck 2. So you will see our logo on a lot of the match graphics, on a lot of things online, and you will see we'll definitely have a presence at this show as well. I will be there. I will have my stickers. If you would like one, please come up to me. I'm happy to give you a sticker, multiple stickers, but really, really excited to work with Chibi-CB and the team at Spark Joshi. Really happy to be able to sponsor the shows. The Spark Joshi shows are always very underrated, I have to say. They've run shows, let's see, they did last year in Vegas. They did the Philadelphia area the year before, around WrestleMania weekend. And then they've also done a number of shows. There was one in Texas last year. There was a couple in LA, in Florida. So Spark Joshi is definitely a fun promotion. They have their own theme song. They have a lot of Joshi talent that they bring in. So I think they've also done a show in Japan now, come to think of it. But very, very excited for this show. Very excited to sponsor them and partner with them. I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit. The very last show I want to touch on here in the Excursions Corner is actually back in Japan. That same day, Sunday, April 19th of WrestleMania weekend, a handful of the women who are not making the trip over to Vegas will be participating in another DDT event. DDT Gathering the Eel Brothers in One Pond. I don't know nearly enough about DDT to tell you who the Eel Brothers are, what they look like, if they are in a pond or not. Somebody please tell me, because that's one heck of a show name. But we will see another TJPW match on offer here. Haru Kazushiro will team up with Rika Tatsumi to take on Arisu Endo and Ren Kanatsu. A couple of heavy hitters staying back from Vegas this year. Rika Tatsumi not making the trip. Arisu Endo not making the trip. Those are probably two of the bigger names. Unfortunate, but you got to mix it up, right? We are lucky to get Himawari come on over. Toga making her U.S. debut. That's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, a lot of people can meet Uda Takami, who were not able to meet Uda in the Texas tour for Texas Stampede. One heck of a show today. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Once again, that's going to bring us to the end here. Next week will be coming to you live from Las Vegas. So I got to pack still. I got to get my cold spray, my ice packs packed away, all of my 8x10s, all that good stuff. My stickers, of course. Again, please, if you see me out at any of the shows, please come and get a sticker. More than happy to give you a sticker. On next week's episode, we'll review both of the Vancouver shows. We probably won't be able to review Gaisen. And then, like I said, also, based on timing, we're going to have to save the Vegas review for the following week. But stay tuned to all of our social channels for an instant reaction live from Las Vegas. Next week, we're also going to preview Inspiration, taking place back in Japan during WrestleMania weekend. Those Inspiration shows, always a lot of fun. And no, there is no relation to the Inspiration, although future booking idea. TJPW should get on that. I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.